Okay, you've done all your prep work, right? You've written your big idea, you've got a compelling promise, you've got an incredible mechanism, and now it's time to put it into words. So let's talk about the art of writing copy. We got to start by saying, hey, listen, copy is weird. It is a totally different form of writing than most people are used to. When I learned it, I had to unlearn a lot of what I would call good literary habits that I had picked up in college, but they were really getting in the way of me writing compelling sales, marketing, and literature. So it's hard to even call it literature. It's hard to call it good writing, but when it is good, it is exceptional. And that's because it creates, a great copy creates this hypnotic, slippery slope of compelling words that people just can't stop reading or paying attention to. You want your reader to have that feeling of, wow, I just couldn't stop paying attention to this. And we've got to understand that copywriting is an art that develops over time. Now, I'm attempting to compress several years of what I learned into a relatively short amount of videos that you can take and write decent copy with. I don't expect you to be on the level of a Dan Kennedy or a Gary Bencivenga after watching this. If you do get to that point, please call me and let me know so I can give you a job. But at the very least, you will have very serviceable copy at the end of this, and you'll avoid making a lot of mistakes that novice copywriters make that gets in the way of them selling their stuff. Along the lines of it being an art that develops over time, I do want to give you the pathway, the 4 steps that you can take to become better at writing copy from today all the way into infinity, because it's something that you can work on for your whole life. The first step is to study other copy. Break it down, read it, understand it. We're going to give you some examples of how to do that in just a bit. But study other copy, immerse yourself in other copy, and look for good copy that's in the market. The second way to develop it, the second part of the path, is to hand copy other sales letters. And I don't mean typing them out. I mean, yes, taking a pen or pencil, getting your notepad, and hand copying. So if there's some copy here that reads, for most of my life I had bad social anxiety, I'm going to write, for most of my life I had bad social anxiety. And I am very focused on what I'm writing. There's no YouTube over here. There's no rap music with a whole bunch of great lyrics that I can listen to blasting through my ears. I'm focused on this and the words that I'm pulling from this screen. I've turned off Slack, I've turned off email, all the notifications are off, because I want to take these words that I see on the screen and wire that writing style into my brain. So you want to get a pen and paper. You're going to wire it into your brain much better that way than if you are just typing things and copying them on a keyboard. And this is sort of a rite of passage of many copywriters. I've not talked to a single copywriter who has been formally trained who has not done this on his or her own. And so hand copying is something that you should definitely add to your repertoire. I encourage you to hand copy some of the templates that we give you here, and also find other sales copy that you like and try hand copying that. If there's a style that intrigues you, if there's a particular writer who you really dig, then copy that one. So that is part 2. Part 3 is working with coaches. Now, you may have heard the story of how I worked with David Garfinkel. I didn't have a whole lot of money at the time, but the money I invested, man, it just paid off in easily the biggest ROI of an investment in my life. So working with copy coaches can be fantastic because they can, A, help you refine your ideas. A good copy coach can look at your big ideas or look at some of your concepts and say, yeah, I like this one, or you might want to tweak it or twist it this way or that way. They can also look at your copy itself and tell you where you're losing people or where you're getting off track. So in early days, I would have somebody look at my, David, for example, would look at my copy, and he would say, no, you don't need this line, this line, this line, or this line, because they're misleading the reader in this way, and they're presenting information that's not really useful. So that's another good example. And then they'll do those 2 things, and they'll also, of course, just help you with the technicalities of copy. They will help you, replace words, replace sentences, and eliminate unnecessarily complicated phrases. and simplify your thoughts. So working with coaches can be phenomenal. I highly recommend Garfinkel, and there's several others. We might have resources and links to them here. And if you decide that this is something that you want to get good at, then I encourage you to work with a coach. Finally, working with other copywriters. So just having a group of copywriters who you're regularly in touch with and talking to and are running ideas by. These should be people who you trust. Perhaps you'll meet them at conferences or events, and you want to connect with them and just share ideas. There's a few people in my life who I'll regularly bounce ideas off of and tell them what I'm thinking, and even show them copy and get critiques from them. And vice versa, I'll look at stuff that they produce and help them refine their ideas. It's just one of these forms of ongoing improvement and engagement in this art. And so those 4 steps: studying copy, handwriting other sales letters, working with coaches, and working with other copywriters. If you do those, if you make them a part of your life and your copy practice, then you will improve at the art of copy. And the final thought I want to leave you with is you don't have to be a great copywriter in order to sell things online. The big idea, the mechanism, the things that we talk about in the money button mechanics are much more important, but being a great copywriter really helps. So what we're going to do is in this section, we're going to look at some copy etiquette, some do's and don'ts, some points that are going to definitely give you an instant start, even if you've never written a word of copy in your life. Then we're going to talk about copy mistakes, writing clearly, writing emotionally, and just developing some skills that we know are going to improve you. And by the end of this section, you should be able to write considerably better copy than when we started. So let's start with copy etiquette. Point number 1 is do look to other copy for inspiration. It's a sort of novice mistake to think that they can reinvent the wheel, or that they can come to the table with an incredibly new form of copy that is going to just completely outpull everything else out there. When I launched one of my first products in the market years and years back, I had this sort of multi-step sales process in mind that nobody had ever done, but I didn't understand the foundations of copy or even offers. So I spun my wheels and wasted a lot of time and a little bit of money. So look to other copy and other offers for inspiration. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. Your job is to bring in the big idea and the promise and the mechanism and the innovation within your product that you want to surface to the marketplace. The form of the offers, the copy itself, no need to completely recreate those. So that's point 1. Point 2 is do look to your market for insights into prospects and hot button issues. So if you were to look at my market, for example, you'd find that there are certain words that they seem to respond to very well, just based on the sheer number of the frequency of those words in the sales letters that are out there. Words like obsession, step by step, innocent words is another big one that's hot in our market right now. There's some words that I will not say on camera because they're not family friendly. Another one is under the radar or rejection proof. So you would see that these are words and phrases which get recycled again and again in our market, and that would tell you, wow, 2 things. First of all, those words themselves are interesting. Perhaps I should use them, or perhaps I should tweak them slightly. So rather than saying rejection proof, or a rejection-proof opener, maybe you would say something like a conversation starter that slips under the radar and never gives you the chance of getting rejected in the first place. So, you saying the same thing, maybe you could pull up a thesaurus and find another word for rejection, but you're just not using the exact same words. It is a risk when you use those words, the exact same words that are on other sales letters, simply because people will have seen those before, and you don't want them to hit your copy and say, oh, this is exactly the same thing as 5 other things I've seen already. So that's point 1. And then point 2 is that this should give you some insight into the avatar themselves. So if you see that everybody in the market has a sales letter that says rejection proof, that should tell you that our avatars are afraid of getting rejected, and they probably have some insecurities, some confidence issues, and so now you're starting to build out the avatar a little bit more. If they want to make a woman obsessed with them, that's going to tell you something else. That's going to tell you that they might be obsessed with a woman, and that it's not good enough to just have her be in love. They want to be adulated. They want to sit upon pedestals and have women just worship them, which many of them do. So look to the market for insights into your prospects' hot button issues and try to dive deep into these pieces of copy to understand the avatar to whom you are writing. Point 3, do model great offers in markets outside of your own. So, if you, here's what we don't want you to do. We don't want you to launch an offer in your market that looks identical to another offer in your market. But if there's a market, if there's a offer in another market that is performing extremely well, let's say you're in men's dating and you wanna, and you see an offer in men's health that's working extremely well. You can model that one pretty closely. You can model the structure, you can model parts of the lead, you can model the close for sure, and the whole funnel, as long as you're replacing it with your market, your big idea, your mechanism, all these things, so that people do not confuse the two in the same market. That's what's important. Generally, people in other markets are going to be okay with you modeling their offers fairly closely as long as you're not stepping on their toes or entering their market. So that's point 3. Point 4 is do break down other offers to understand them. I'm going to include the screencast of how I do this in a step-by-step process for dissecting offers and pulling them apart and getting them back and having them broken down. But if you look at some of the ones that we're going to include for you, you'll see that we break them down in some cases line by line, or at most maybe 5 or 6 lines before we do another analysis of, hey, here's what's happening here in this sales letter. Why do we do this? Because we want to understand the subtext, the meta of why a sales letter is working to pull someone's attention through it. So what is the opener that they use? What's the attention hook that they use? What is the curiosity hook that they used? What are the, how are they transitioning into the story? If you can pull these things apart, you're gonna give yourself a big advantage, both in terms of understanding the general psychology of writing great copy and also giving yourself new tools to use as you create your own copy. This is something that I've done extensively, and now that you've gone through this course, you're going to have a lot of the framework that you need, intellectual framework, to understand what's going on beneath the lines or between the lines or beneath the surface of these other letters. So by all means, look at what we've done for some of ours, where we've broken them down, and then go do it on your own for offers in your market. You will become a much better copywriter that way, and you'll definitely short circuit the amount of time that it takes, or shortcut the amount of time that it takes to develop a great offer of your own. Another point, so this is point 5, is do purchase products, go through funnels, and learn what you can. So if you were to buy some of our products, you would see some very interesting things happening in our back end that wouldn't be immediately obvious from the front end. For example, one of our products sells the continuity as the first upsell in such a compelling and unique way that people are almost stupid not to take it. And so it's offered for free. They just have to click one little button, and then immediately they're subscribed. And this is something that, if you did not buy the first product and you did not see this next page, you would have no idea that we were doing this, and it would, and you wouldn't know, how are they able to afford so much on media on this source? So that is, that's one thing that we've done. Another little example is if you buy something from us, the receipt email has some very specific language about it, in it, about how we deal with fraud and chargebacks. And we say something to the extent of, if you issue a chargeback without trying to contact us first, we will dispute it. We will show your bank records of your purchase, of your access attempt, of any access that you've made to our members community, and we keep very good records. Now, it says that in more professional terms, but the point is that this has reduced chargebacks considerably, because it lets customers know that we take care of fraud both against them and when they are attempting to defraud us. So these are little things, again, that you would not find out unless you purchased a product of ours. And that is, so that's definitely something you should do, is purchase products, go through funnels, and learn what you can. Point 6, copy best practices with pricing, design, and funnel flow. So at the time that I record this, I think the days of the $67 video sales letter are coming to an end. That may be the case, that may not be, who knows, but selling products as we have been for the past 4 or 5 years, things just aren't working the way that they used to. And what we're seeing a lot now are free plus shipping offers or $1 trials. So this is an area where you can take your big idea, you can take your mechanism, and you can perhaps create a very small version of that product, or just create an entry to a members community where the product is sold as an upsell. But you can look at the pricing that's working out there and steal it. You know, just look at your ideas and your mechanism and say, you know, I'm going to use this pricing instead of the pricing that you know, from over here. Look at what is getting success in the marketplace right now, and then go from there. So pricing for sure, design as well. If you see design elements like buttons, colors, to give you an example, all of our checkout pages are split tested to high heaven. Everything from the flow to the location of a form to the design of the form itself. We found that we had improved conversion rates when we put the country selector up top, and then the state selector, and then name, email, phone number. Weird little thing, but if somebody, you know, if there's an offer out there that's doing really well, and it's got some unconventional design or something about it that stands out to you, then by all means, you know, consider that design as something that you might want to test on your own. Maybe you want to change a color, maybe not. Colors are critical too. So certainly copy best practices with pricing design. And finally, funnel flow. So a good example of this is that we added interstitial pages in some of our offers which qualify our prospects. That led to increased conversion rates. So you could test the interstitial. Maybe it would work for you, maybe it wouldn't. But as you look at how funnels flow, that's certainly something that you can copy. So finally, point 7 is do respect the hard work of those who came before you. This whole game of selling things online is something that a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to figure out. There are a few titans of the world, and you know, respect the work that they've done. A lot of people have devoted their lives to this. So you know, it can be tempting to come in and say, oh, you know, I'm going to write something and just kind of be done with it, or I'm just going to copy somebody else's thing, and they won't know, they won't care. If they find it, they will, and that's not a good way to you know, to make a name for yourself when you're just starting off. So respect the hard work of those who came before you. And along those lines, let's get into our 3 don'ts. Number 1 is don't steal big ideas, mechanisms, and common enemies, especially together. So you know, if somebody came to me and they said, hey, listen, we want to create a course about how to get a girlfriend, fine, you know, of course they can. If they said, hey, the big idea is I'm going to create a course about how to get a girlfriend in 6 weeks or less by using secrets from literotica and romance novels, I'd say, what the fuck are you doing? That is my big idea. And somebody did that exact thing. And so, of course, I called them up. I said, if you would ever like to do business with me, then you will change everything that you just spent several months working on. So don't steal big ideas. Generally, you want to be careful about mechanisms. You can look to other mechanisms for inspiration, but if you're going to model one, then model it. Don't steal it. Again, an example from our market is it's very easy to say something along the lines of, you know, I read a whole bunch of romance novels and discovered some things, and that has made its way into a lot of sales letters in our market. But for somebody to say, I read a whole bunch of romance novels and discovered that there was a step-by-step process that that caused every woman to fall in love, and I called it the obsession story, or in the case of somebody who tried to rip me off, the infatuation story. That is a bridge too far. So have some discretion when you're trying to do this. If you have any question about it at all, then perhaps contact the person who you're looking to for inspiration. You may get a good response, you may not, and that was going to inform your decision to move forward. But definitely be careful about what you do with mechanisms. And finally, common enemies. You know, that one is a little bit more of a gray line, but if you are going to steal a common enemy, or at least use one for inspiration, then do your best to change it up a little bit, tell a different story about it, and you know, make people feel that your experience with it has been a bit different. That's point 1. Point 2 in the don'ts is don't steal leads. So the start of the sales letter, especially in your own market. You can model leads closely from other markets, but stealing leads within your own market for the line by line or as close as possible is really uncool. People put a lot of work into understanding their leads. Into building their leads out, into coming up with new lead ideas. And it's the one thing that's going to capture the attention of someone and make them say, oh, this is different from everything else I've seen. So if somebody puts a lot of work into creating a compelling lead and then you just come right off and steal it, not cool. Now, if it's a different market, that's a different story. You have some wiggle room there, and we've taken leads from different markets, and we've also given leads to friends in other markets. And that is something that we feel a little bit more comfortable with, as long as we're not seeing a big crossover between the customers who are seeing our marketing. So that's fine, but again, don't steal leads and from within your market. That's just a cardinal sin, and that is going to get you a nasty phone call or email. And then finally, number 3, this is not quite copy etiquette, but it's something I want to make sure that we throw in here. Don't assume that someone is successful because they have a lot of press or social media. I have several friends who have a tremendous amount of press and social media who've not made nearly as much money as I have now. Whatever your metric of success is, I don't know. Maybe it is significance, influence, etc. But you bought this course because you wanted to turn your ideas and your words into money. So that's why we're here. And having a lot of social media or having a lot of press does not necessarily guarantee that somebody is making a lot of money or is having a lot of success. So make sure that you understand that and that you are chasing after the right trails. It's pretty easy to see somebody with a lot of visibility and say they must be doing something right, but I've learned time and time and time again that that is not always the case. And I will close this section with a little quote from Felix Dennis. He's a billionaire, author of several books, and publisher of Maxim magazine, I believe, as well as many others. He wrote, "Many pathways lead to riches, some in sunlight, most in ditches." And I always think about that one, and I like it. I think it's cute, and I'm always reminded of it when I see somebody with a lot of press or social media who is in the sunlight, but perhaps not making all the money that I'm making when I am digging the ditches that I am. So that is the introduction to the art of writing copy. From here, we're going to jump into copy novice mistakes and how to write more clearly.